Yep, we back at it. Yeah, let's get it going. Let's get it going. G Bush in here looking like one of the sideline dudes that tell everybody to get back. When Jim Tressel was at Ohio State, get back. I'm the get back guy, man. Stole this sweater vest fair and square from Jimmy Tressel. Shout out to my people out there, man. Welcome on into the Barbershop. We got a lot to talk about, man. You know, haven't been with you guys since the Cleveland Browns lost in the playoffs to the Houston Texans. But we got a lot of stuff to break down like in the offseason. And you know what we do in the offseason. Listen, nobody is able to read the tea leaves like your boy. Nobody's able to put together these schemes like your boy. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's something brewing in Bria. Everybody is looking confused, dazed, and confused. I'm going to actually tell you how and why this thing came about. And I'm going to actually talk about if there's going to be a rift with Kevin Stefanski. You saw the thumbnail. I think it's trouble in paradise a little bit. I think it is a little bit of a power struggle when it comes to play calling, offensive philosophy, Deshaun Watson being comfortable. And all of this comes after the Cleveland Browns win 11 games. And I think it's very funny that, you know, there's a lot of people that would say right now they thought Kevin Stefanski was going to have an extension on the table right now. He was supposed to have an extension ready to go. And guess what? Has not been put out there. I'll tell you exactly why. I'll put my categories, my schemes together, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. I want your opinion as well in the comment section as well as the chat. Let's get it going, chat. What's going on in Cleveland? What do you make of the offensive coordinator? Did Kevin Stefanski even have the mojo to do that? When they made a move, was that Stefanski? Was it Barry? What are you thinking about all of those good things? We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit as well. Also got a little something for y'all. Let's get to Andrew Barry's press conferences. I got some sound from Andrew Barry, a little bit of video about one Nick Chubb and his future with the Cleveland Browns. I think everybody should be excited about that, hearing some of this news. We'll figure out what Andrew Barry thinks about it. Also, he talked about the extension with Kevin Stefanski. Also talked about Joe Flacco. So I have a little Joe Flacco update for you as well. So as you can see, we doing a bunch of, it's a bunch of stuff that needs to be broken down. A lot of people is confused out here. I'm going to tell you exactly what they're thinking and everything concerning with the Cleveland Browns and what I took away from this press conference as well. And playoff games was this weekend. Really good playoff games. Buccaneers, Lions. You had the 49ers and the Packers. And the game last night, Bills, Chiefs. We're going to break down all these games. We're going to get into them. And more importantly, what I learned from watching these playoff games and how that really, kind of, goes into the whole thing with the Cleveland Browns. How does it affect the Cleveland Browns? I like to watch in the playoffs. Because in the playoffs, those are the teams and those are the places that you want to be, right? What are those teams doing well that the Cleveland Browns need to improve on to get to that next step? So I've looked at some of those things, watched those games. I'll give you my feedback in terms of that. Make sure you follow me. Hit that like button where your comments at. Make sure you hit follow me at GBush91. Also, make sure that you are subscribing to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Coming up in February, I think it's the 1st of February, we'll be diving into something brand new. We're going to be diving into the Ultimate Cleveland Browns show, part of the UCSS network, as the UCSS network has expanded. Yours truly will be the flagship of the Cleveland Browns channel on YouTube. We plan on expanding the brand. We plan on bringing Browns players in. We want to bring in guys and from all over the places coming to talk to you guys 2 times a week. I believe it's Monday and Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. 5 o'clock p.m. So it gives you guys a little bit of opportunity. Get off the highway, get off the road, and you can catch G. Bush bringing that Browns content to you and bringing it in a way that's interesting, thought-provoking, and most of all, electrifying. You know what we do over here. 93 people in here. Make sure you hit the like button. So let's get off into this thing right quick. Let's start with this. Is there a Watson Stefanski rift? Let's talk about it. If you weren't on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, go back and check that show out. I brought to the table and said that Deshaun Watson was on record saying that he does not necessarily like 15 play scripts and things like that. Kevin Stefanski is known for the 15 play scripts. Kevin Stefanski is very known for his success with his opening drives because they are scripted. He gets a lot of people involved. And, Kevin Stefanski did a really good job of doing that with Joe Flacco there. And I think overall and in general, the thing that we can learn that happened with this situation is during the season when Joe Flacco was coming out and he was doing this thing and the Flaccovelli train was running and we had the Kool-Aid Mafia rolling, a lot of people said, including myself, let's push this to the side a little bit. We gonna listen, push the Flacco stuff. We got to wait on the playoffs. We're going to rock with who's ever at quarterback. But in the back of my mind, we all knew this. You guys already knew this, that it was going to come a point in time to where this was going to come to a head. The narrative that Joe Flacco was playing in a way that Deshaun Watson couldn't play was building and building and building. And even during the playoff run, people started to ask, why is it that Joe Flacco can look like this and your boy Deshaun Watson didn't look like that? Then something weird happens this weekend. Baker Mayfield is on national TV. Baker's on national TV. And he's in a playoff game, a divisional round game against the Lions, which they lost. But Baker Mayfield was playing good ball for the majority of the game. And then Baker became who Baker was. He threw an interception that really kind of cost him the game, sealed the fate. Buccaneers lose the game to the Lions, on that last drive. But one of the things that was a phenomenon was, as Baker started to play well, Twitter was going crazy. You started to see the Deshaun Watson comparisons with Baker Mayfield. You started seeing guys be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe the Cleveland National guys. I can't believe the Browns gave up on this guy for this guy. $230 million. All the talking points is coming around, right? So what you have is now you have another narrative, right? And it's one thing, it's a thing where now Deshaun Watson is being compared to any quarterback that does well or doesn't do well, right? If we just want to talk about the Bills or the teams that are good, like Lamar Jackson or Burrow, teams that we got to really, really do something against to get to the promised land, they compare Deshaun Watson. If it's about Baker Mayfield and what year he had, even the Bulls said, and we'll talk about this tomorrow on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We didn't get into it today, but even Adam the Bull was like, hey, listen, Baker had a better year than Deshaun Watson. And I'm sitting here like, well, listen, bro, I mean, you're going to count 6 games, and I ain't even going to count the Indianapolis Colts game because he played like three downs. I said, if you want to compare those like this is apples to apples, it's not. But the phenomenon here is this. We talked about throughout the season, Kevin Stefanski being a guy that was going to be a coach of the year candidate. We talked about, Kevin Stefanski being a guy that runs a certain type of play with play action, what he could do with Joe Flacco, keeping the team together with the Band-Aid, right? We talked about all of those things. But when we got to the end of the road, like boys to men, I didn't see very many people praising and clapping that up from the front office. You see, we thought that Kevin Stefanski was going to get Jason Lloyd called for it. Jay Crawford said, I think Stefanski has done the best job in the league. He needs to get an extension. Do you find it very fishy that right now, as we sit here at about 3:17 on a Monday, January 22nd, we have heard none of that? When asked today, we'll get to some of the comments of Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry was non-committal. What about the contract? Mary Kay Cabot asked, what about the contract extension, Andrew? He said, we like Kevin. We're excited about Kevin Stefanski as head coach. That's about as non-committal as you can get to. And what we're starting to see is that the brass at top was less excited about the season than we were, because they figured out we can't replicate that. All these other teams, it's replicatable. What the Ravens are doing, they got that quarterback, their system is replicatable. What the Bills is doing, got their quarterback, got the system, replicatable. We ain't got to speak about Patrick Mahomes. But the Cleveland Browns can't go into next year and be like, well, let's just play with 5 quarterbacks, lead the league in turnovers, not really have any answer with our injuries at tackle, and still be running a playbook that's Gary Kubiak's playbook for 20, 30 years ago. To have that set level of success, you can't do that. You can't replicate that. So as I said earlier in the year, when Deshaun Watson got hurt, when Nick Chubb got hurt, all the tackles got hurt. Everything that they was doing, they just surrounded the wheels. They just circled the wagon and said, listen, we need to go out here and get the best we can out of these guys, so let's run this old playbook. I know we told them about this nice, shiny playbook with Elijah Moore, and he was supposed to be some Percy Harvin guy that got jet sweeps and he could run the ball. No, he didn't. He ran like 3 reverses. They tackled his small so-and-so in the backfield, and they scrapped that playbook. So the playbook that we all heard about never came to fruition. And then you have this sacrificial lamb, Alex Van Pelt, offensive coordinator by title, but no work put in. O'Shea is the receivers coach. He's the passing game coordinator. Callahan is running the run game as well as the offensive line. Stefanski calls the plays. Alex Van Pelt was only O coordinator in name. And so what you have here, boys and girls, as the scheme develops, you see Alex Van Pelt jettisoned. Stump Mitchell jettisoned because he let the cat out of the bag. He was talking about, can we confirm or deny Alex Van Pelt? It was going to be gone, and guess what? Stump Mitchell was confirming it out of hand. Tony Grossi reported that. He was let go for leaking. So the Cleveland Browns wanted to keep all this in-house. They didn't want that to get out. They didn't want it to get out that they're interviewing coordinators right now before they could figure how to spin this thing, because you wouldn't need to spin it if it was just Kevin Stefanski. If Stefanski wanted to get rid of Alex Van Pelt and bring in some new fresh blood, everybody would understand it, right? So there would be no need for a spin. But there was, because the spin is this. Well, it actually was a promotion, demotion type thing. We just separately wanted to part ways. No, it wasn't. And I was able to figure that out and drill down on that, because you can go listen to Deshaun Watson, what he says. He says in the interview, I'm not a big fan of scripting plays, because you when you scripting plays, you're taking look at film work and tendencies from when they played other quarterbacks. I'm not every other quarterback. I can move. I can use my legs. Specifically mentioned 2 names. Brock Purdy. That wasn't a coincidence, boys and girls. Brock Purdy has been named as an MVP candidate, and he's polarizing. Some people will say he is where he is because of that great roster. Some people think Brock Purdy is a little better. But one thing that we all know is when you mention somebody's name like that, that means you got it in the back of your head as a comparison. He said, I'm not Brock Purdy. I can move around and use my legs. He named Tua. Guess what? Some people was saying Tua was a breakout candidate. He had a great offseason. He's going to be a franchise guy. And some people say, you got Jalen Waddle, you got A-Chain, you got Mostert, and you got Tyreek Hill. You shut your mouth. You're not a franchise guy. Another guy that's polarizing. And what he's saying to him is, see those 2 teams? The Dolphins offensively is loaded. 49ers is loaded. My team ain't loaded like that on offense. But that's okay, because I feel like I bring more to the table. I feel like I can throw the ball. I feel like I don't need a 15-yard script, first 15 scripted. I feel like I'm one of those guys you hand the football to, like a Lamar Jackson, and say make plays, or Josh Allen and make plays. Has he produced that on the full field for us, for the Browns at this point? No. But he's telling you exactly what it is. It's no coincidence he says that the same week Alex Van Pelt is gone. You know why? Because there's no doubt in my mind that that move came from up top. That's Jimmy Haslam saying, looking around the NFL and saying, see how CJ Stroud was playing and beat us like that? I want my quarterback to look like that. I'm paying $260 million. I want my 260 worth. They were like, well, listen, he was hurt. He was in this time. Nah, yeah, I get all that. But when he's going to be unhurt, I want him in them same positions so I can get my money's worth. The worst thing that rich people want to do in life is see their other rich friends do something that's better than them. Rich people, they in our community, we talk about it. It's called the Joneses, trying to keep up with the Joneses. Because you know what? I'm not going to be seeing that brand new shiny quarterback in CJ Stroud throwing the ball all over the park, advancing farther than my team. And I was supposed to be getting the upper hand on this one. I done gave 3 first-round draft picks up. So, yeah, I spent $260 million on the Lamborghini. Best believe I'm getting top flight oil changes. Best believe I want I'm taking it to get to nothing but the best tires and brakes. Best believe I got the systems in the leather. There ain't nothing stock in here. And right now, Jimmy Haslam said this is a stock offense. I don't want cloth seats in my joint. I want the plush leather. I want that ostrich. And the first step to doing that was changing the offense. And to do that, I believe there's an ultimatum. Hey, Kevin, we like what you do. You're a leader of men. You did a great job of rallying this team. You did a great job of making sure everybody stayed close. The guys play hard for you. And we think that you could be a great CEO. You can be a great CEO. See Jimmy Johnson. Check out some of those guys. You don't necessarily have to be calling the plays. Here's what we got for you, though, Kev. Come on over here. If you give up the plays, let Deshaun and the new coordinator come up with some new innovative stuff and, be innovative. We'll give you that contract extension. We'll give you some time to think about it. We'll even let you be in the room when we go about doing our interviews. We'll do that for you. But here's the thing. We need a decision on this. And quickly. Because we're only prepared to bring you back as head coach unless you give up play calling. It's the best of both worlds. Think about it for the both of us. That's what I'm, it's just, I could be wrong. I don't be wrong that much, though. I could be wrong, but the tea leaves don't. It's no coincidence that Deshaun Watson is running around talking. It's no coincidence that Alex Van Pelt is the fall guy. It's no coincidence that Andrew Berry is non-committal talking about Kevin Stefanski. Because if he would, what good does it do to be secretive? Kevin Stefanski's still under contract. It ain't like somebody can come poach him up. 290 people in here right now. 290 people in here right now. Hit that like button. We scheming. We got some stuff to get into, man. I kind of went a little long on that. G. Bush here on the Barbershop UCSS network. Went a little longer than that. We still got another half hour to go. Before we get to our first commercial break. Let me go ahead and get to some of these 45 people in the comment section talking. Am I crazy? I need to know. Am I just being stupid? Am I just throwing this together? Did I get a concussion? Do I got a great imagination? Or am I just being a Duke of knee-jerk? You let me know, and you give me your scheme. What you talking about? Let's get to it. Yeah, I like the commentary. Nicole D, thank you so much for the super chat. What do you think is a reasonable expectation for the Browns in 2024? I think the division title or AFC championship game appearance is fair. I wanted to get to that. You be stealing my, see, Nicole, this is why you be stealing my topics. I'll be mad at cats like you, man. You know, shout out to you. I don't be mad. No, I'm be mad. G. Bush don't never be mad. Let me take this off so I can get to this fair and square. I think tying in with the whole Deshaun Watson thing, I think it's fair. If Deshaun Watson wants to say, I want my own coordinator, I don't want scripted plays, I want to do X, Y, and Z, I ain't got no problem with it. But for as far as me, I'm all about accountability. If you go into an office setting, if you hire me as a manager and I come in and I say, you know, this position is for 50,000, I want 75. Not only do I want 75, I want a budget for incentives. I want to run my own incentive program and an ability to give in a budget and an ability to give overtime out to make up some of the backlogs that you want me to come in and clean up. Also, I would also like some flexibility. I would like to work from home 3 or 4 days. They may be like, well, you're not getting 4 days. We'll plea bargain. All right, I only wanted 2 to start with. So I just threw out 4. They gave me 2. Got what I want. And I'm going to tell them, listen, can I get 3 weeks vacation? Standard is 2. But I plan on not missing no days of work during our peak seasons when we need these reports in. And I'm going to be spending a lot of time on that. So on the back end, I do believe that during the summer when it's kind of down, I would like another week of vacation. They said, G. Bush, what are you talking about? You keep doing these analogies. Well, if they give me everything that I'm asking for in that, when it come time for that first month, you better be ready to deliver on what they gave you. They said they wanted you to clear the backlog up. How you gonna do it? That means you better hit the ground running. You better hit every goal they want you to hit, right? Because you got what you wanted. And that's the same thing with your boy, Deshaun Watson. If they give you everything you want, your coordinator, all that good stuff, you 15 scripted plays, whatever, that you already got the bag. Guess what? I need you to at least win the first round game. I want to say you should win a divisional round game too, but I ain't going to step to that. You got to win a playoff game next year for everybody. And that means you probably owe Kevin Stefanski. If they give you everything you want and he dropped play calling, you need to deliver on the back end and say, I got you, Kev. Don't worry about it. You better take every bullet. You throw an interception, that's on me. You talk about anything, Coach Stefanski is good. We don't hear nothing. You better come out here and ball. That's what I'm looking for. That's it. We not about to do that. If they give it to you, taking you that bag, you better chill out. You better deliver. Hey, man, Sean Finnerty, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. 313 people in here right now. We cooking. This is the way we supposed to be cooking. We off and running. G. Bush, the next time you find yourself agreeing with Jay Crawford, stop and ask yourself if you should revisit that. Just a thought. Hey, you know, look, I like to, I wouldn't say I'm overly smart. I just try to be wise. Even your enemy, and Jay's not my enemy, even your enemy can offer you sound advice sometimes. Sometimes they right. Right? Kenetha Ivory says the podcast was Avery and Deshaun podcast. It wasn't Cam's. He was a guest. And there are several other episodes where he's talking about this season and things he needs to work on. Hey, I like that. It is. And shout out to Quincy and Deshaun. It was their podcast. They brought Cam on. Cam does a podcast. I watch his stuff too. So, yeah, thank you for the correction in that. You are correct. And I've been watching the podcast. They do talk about things you need to work on, right? I think a lot of people will tune in just to see the tea and see if what we're talking about is relevant or if they can find some sort of tabloid stuff. And she says part 2 of the episode y'all referred earlier dropped while y'all was on air. Check out part 2 as well. Go out there and check that out. I thought it was refreshing to hear people talk candidly. Demond by four says Cam is an interesting dude. Yes, he is. His hat collection is crazy, and he got bird nest up there. You not the GM or the owner. You not the Browns GM or owner. He will get an extension. Calm down. You're hyper emotional, man. I don't think I was emotional about that. I'm asking you what your theory is, G Wolves. And I never said I was the Browns GM or the owner. Evidently, everybody knows that. But one thing I can do is read tea leaves. I mean, what reason would you not give him an extension yet? I mean, he probably looks like the coach of the year. He did a great job, right? That's 2 coaches a year potentially in 4 years. Second of all, 5 quarterbacks did their thing. He made it to the playoffs with a team nobody else could make it to the playoffs with. Here's what I'm saying, and here's what I'm throwing out there. Nobody's saying he's getting fired. But I'm willing to wager there's a 75% chance Kevin Stefanski does not call the plays next year. Has nothing to do with whether or not he's a good play caller or coach. It has to do with the difference in philosophy between the way Deshaun Watson likes and thinks about the game of football and the way that Kevin Stefanski likes and thinks about the way of football. And we all know in a power struggle between a coach and a quarterback that you paid all this for, guess what? That player is going to get an opportunity to have a say in that. And I'm telling you right now, it's the beginning of, it's looking like Deshaun's going to get his way and he's going to have a lot of say what goes on and with this offensive coordinator position. Got a lot of good comments. We'll get back to you guys as well. Let's get to it. Let's get to our first break here. We'll come back and we'll get to this one. Andrew Berry's press conference. Let's talk about what we heard, what they said. I got some sound from Andrew Berry, and he'll talk about all the big name guys: Nick Chubb, Flacco, Deshaun Watson, Kevin Stefanski. We'll talk about that all coming up next. Don't go nowhere. Right here on the UCSS YouTube channel. Behind the Glass. Make sure you guys check it out, Behind the Glass. They got an episode coming up today. There's a lot of Browns news coming up, some Cavs information. And by the way, we see what you're saying. We understand. We get it. Cavs are a big deal. Cavs are a thing. That's why we got a Cavs show coming up for you. A lot of people be on UCSS be like, yo, G. Bush, y'all don't talk enough Cavs. You don't talk about enough Cavs. Guess what? We do talk some Cavs, and we got a special podcast coming up with Mikey McNuggets as well as Jason Lloyd, devoted for only specifically Cavs content right here on the UCSS Network channel. Make sure you check out Anthony Earl and Mikey McNuggets and Behind the Glass. They'll be coming up today, I believe, at 5 o'clock. And make sure you check out Adam the Bull, his podcast coming up in the next couple of days. He's going to interview Joe Flacco. Can't wait to hear that. But make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. You know when they're going on, and we'll get it done. It is the Behind the Glass. All right. Let's get to Andrew Berry's press conference, right? Let's get to Andrew Berry's press conference a little bit. We're going to play a little. We got some sound from Andrew Berry in his press conference talking about some of these topics. But first of all, let's get to this. Let me add this in here. This is from Nick Carnes. He says, he's Nick Carnes, and I believe in the press conference, Andrew Berry said that there's a multiple year plan for Deshaun Watson. And Nick Carnes poses the question, why is it a bad thing for Andrew Berry to say it's a 10-year plan with Deshaun Watson? When you trade multiple first-round picks for any player, the plan should be for that player to return value for as long as possible. And I think one of the things that we take a look at when you talk about what Andrew Berry is saying during this situation is, right now, I think a lot of people were disillusioned at the fact that potentially there's going to be a rift or some sort of competition between Joe Flacco or the Browns were going to pivot and go in another direction. And I never quite got this. And this is why I was adamant when we talked about it with this weekend with Baker Mayfield. Baker was playing okay, but we got so many people that still be in their feelings, still in their bag, still. And I'm like, look, Baker done played for 4 different teams. He didn't play for the Browns. He didn't play for the Panthers. He played for the Rams. Now he's playing for the Buccaneers. And so when people talk about, I can't believe the Browns gave up on this guy. No. Not only did the Browns say we're going to move on, but the Panthers moved on. The Rams moved on. He landed in a nice spot with Tampa Bay and he played really good, got him to the playoffs. Shout out to them. But this comparison and contrasting of everything that moved with Deshaun Watson is crazy. And Andrew Berry is right. You gave up 3 first-round picks. You've invested a lot of money in him. So why would it be strange for you to say a 10-year plan? Come on now. Every franchise quarterback got a 10-year plan. Burrow, C.J. Stroud. We can keep going down the list. Trevor Lawrence. That is what it is. It is what it is. Also, this kind of plays into it a little bit. Let's talk about Joe Flacco. This is by Cleveland.com. Andrew Berry said that the Browns have given 0 consideration to having Flacco back up Watson from the standpoint of tension in the room or folks preferring Watson. And this is from Cleveland.com, and that's from Browns GM Andrew Berry on Deshaun Watson and Flacco coexisting if he bring Flacco back. And I'll lean on what Bernie Kosar told me. I'll lean on the side of what Bernie said and go by that. Bernie Kosar was one of the greatest minds when it comes to just the physically he was limited. But as far as his mind is concerned, his football mind, in terms of understanding coverage, plays, drawing up plays and concepts and understanding what to do, he was a savant. He's one of the last remaining quarterbacks that didn't have an offensive coordinator. He called the plays in the huddle, run past all of it. He did that. And then Bill Belichick came in and tried to put some reins on him, but we know those answers. He was so well thought of that the Dallas Cowboys, when Troy Aikman went down, they picked Bernie Kosar up, and he memorizes the playbook in 1 day. They put him in the game for 2 or 3 days, memorizes the playbook, goes in, wins a playoff game for the Dallas Cowboys. He ends his career with the Miami Dolphins. Not only was he on that roster with Dan Marino, he was the play caller for Dan Marino. He's calling plays for one of the greatest to ever do it. So with no ego aside. So when Bernie says Joe Flacco is a consummate professional, he could teach Deshaun Watson some of the best things that you could teach from footwork standpoint, from play action standpoint. And they had no problem because Joe is a pro. He's a professional. See, a lot of y'all cats be out there wondering, well, they can't coincide, can't get along, can't do. No. You think Joe Flacco ain't solid enough to do that? And the Browns would be smart to have him as the backup. Lord knows what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson's elbow, shoulder, whatever. You want somebody to come in, and we'll talk about this coming up in the next section. What I learned about the playoffs. We'll come back to this because I believe truthfully and truly that people are going to have to start to think about differently the playoffs and different things the way they approach it during the regular season. We'll talk about that. So I agree with him. Andrew Berry says, ain't no problem. I don't think it'll be a problem. And I don't think Deshaun Watson would be looking over his shoulder. Why would he? He's probably one of the catalysts for saying, give me another coordinator on some stuff that I feel comfortable about. If he got that cachet, don't worry about Joe Flacco taking his position. It's not going to happen. All right. Let me get to this. Let me do this. We talked about this a little bit on UCSS, right? Shout out to Nick Carnes. We talk about Nick Chubb, and I've always been on the record. Now, I'm on the panel on UCSS. A lot of the guys during the season were under the idea that Nick Chubb might not be on this roster. There are other people in other media outlets that said, you know what, Nick Chubb might not actually be on. Shut your mouths. You better shut up. You see, at least Andrew Berry understands the room. I like he's playing politics right here. I like he's playing politics. Understand, know where you're at. Know your audience. Under no circumstances is Nick Chubb not on this team next year. Under zero circumstances. That is a move you won't survive. Nick, you won't survive that, Andrew. He understands that. Kevin Stefanski understands it, right? And you'll see in this clip coming up now. There is no circumstances where you can say, Nick Chubb gonna do this, we gonna get rid of him. Nick Carnes put it eloquently. He says, Andrew Berry and Nick Chubb's future in Cleveland. Nobody wants to see that carry in Pittsburgh be the last with the Cleveland Browns. We obviously will work with Nick to do everything we can to have him on his team. And let me throw this on top of that. Nobody wants to see Nick Chubb play for the Cincinnati Bengals. Nobody wants to see Nick Chubb take a deal and play for the Baltimore Ravens. No way, shape, or form do we want to see Nick Chubb taking carries in New England. We don't want to see him getting no touches and being a missing link with the Cowboys. None of that. You won't survive it. I'll be the first one jumping off the screen. We won't even be on the right rundown. We'll be talking about quarterbacks, and I just keep bringing up Nick Chubb. I'm telling you that's what's going to happen. And he understands that. He definitely understands that. So let's get to this, man. This is a clip from Andrew Berry. Let me know if you guys can hear this coming up. This is a clip from Andrew Berry talking about the respect level he has for one, Nicholas Chubb.
Okay, so with Nick, I probably came into this year let's say on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of respect for Nick Chubb, it was a 10, and probably coming out of this year, it's now a 20. Nick, you would have never guessed that Nick was out for the season with how he operated within the building. I mean, it was like he was doing 2-a-day practices for rehab.
Come on now. This is why Nick Chubb is that dude. Andrew Berry understood wisely. We can't get into that. We can't do that. Browns Fan UK says, I probably came into this year, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of respect for Nick Chubb, it was a 10. And probably coming out of this way, it's a 20. That's saying a lot. You notice he vague with everybody else. You notice he vague with everything else, but Nick Chubb, no vagueness about that, which it should be. And then finally, I don't have the quote here, but we could talk about it a little bit. Finally, Andrew Berry talked about the level of confidence, and I think Mary Kay asked him, what's going on with Kevin Stefanski's extension, and he said basically they don't really talk about player contracts or coaches contracts. However, they like what Kevin has done. He also mentioned in another comment that he believes that Kevin hasn't even really, he's been a great coach. He could possibly win Coach of the Year 2 out of 4 years. And he says, with that being said, he still thinks that Kevin Stefanski shows a level where there is some progress that can still be done, and they could still reach a level that he hasn't even reached yet. So that was, let's get to some of your comments real quickly before we get out of here on this segment. We'll get back into a break. Got a couple of memberships and super chats. Let's get to those. Sean Finnery said, what's the chances of the Browns landing Troy Franklin out of Oregon? He's super fast. I love Troy Franklin out of Oregon. 6'3". I like him. 1,400 yards. I think he's one of the guys, but I think he's going to be he may be a late first, early second. I don't know if the Browns have that type of cachet to get up and go get him, but I do like him. I do like him a lot. He fits the description of a burner. Don't tell me nobody to run no 4.7. None of that 4.6 noise. Yeah, don't show me no big body receivers like Cedric Tillman. You need somebody to threaten somebody vertically. That's what we're looking for. Denny Dice says, Stefanski, the head coach, his system doesn't apply to Washington's strengths, period. It's shown. Time to take the reins off Watson and let him play the game. He excelled in Houston. Why? An offense that ran through Watson. Tez G said, we need to win the division. I'm going to come back to that, Tez G, on some of the things that I learned watching the playoffs. Let me remind you, I got something for you. Let's see. 11-6 with 5 quarterbacks. No, this is Stefanski's team, not Deshaun Watson. Nah, that's not true, my life, Pixel. Because Kevin Stefanski didn't want to get rid of Alex Van Pelt. He didn't go in there and tell Alex Van Pelt he was done. That was a decision from the top. If it was Kevin Stefanski's team, he'd be able to hire whoever he wanted at coordinator. It's not true. When you talk about play calling, it's a 75% chance that Stefanski won't call plays. And Andrew Berry said it today, that partly depends on who's the offensive coordinator they hire. If it was your team and you the head coach and you like play calling, there would be no chance, and you know what, that somebody tells you that all depends on who they bring in. That's like being like this. I'm a married man. I don't know if my life perplexed. Pixel, are you a married man? I don't know. Maybe you're in a relationship. But here's the way they work. If somebody asks me and say, G. Bush, word is that you're happily married. And I tell them, yeah, I'm technically married. But that all depends on how my date on Thursday goes with this other girl off the internet. Well, you ain't married then. You don't got that. That means your wife ain't where she's supposed to be at in your pecking order. Now that's gonna cost you some bucks, and G. Bush ain't that dumb. Shout out to my wife Rosie. But you see what the point I'm making? If you was the man, there would be no question about it. He'd be like, Kevin Stefanski's the head coach. He's going to be calling plays for us next year. Next question. I'm just saying. Give the man some help with the show we all love. I love the barbershop behind the glass in the bullpen. I appreciate all of y'all, man. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. This gets me. So, likes don't cost you nothing. They're free. I always tell people, you don't even got to give me the super chat. Like, you don't have to give me super chats. We appreciate them. We read them. But most of all, what counts is hitting that button so other people can watch it. That's even more giving it forward, right? You know what I'm saying? That gives you, it's forward thinking, right? And I don't know anywhere on the internet where you can get pure, unadulterated Cleveland Browns content directly to what you're doing, and it's specified, pinpoint accurate at what we're doing. Come on now. The like is free. Even if you hate G. Bush, it's 351 people. Say 200 is haters. At least I'm entertaining you, haters. Hey, speaking of, G. Bush needed a fresh batch of Kool-Aid. Well, listen, you already told me. When we come back, we're going to get to the rest of this situation, what I learned this weekend. But first, let's get to this batch of Kool-Aid. It's G. Bush on the UCSS YouTube channel. I don't talk about no Kool-Aid. What you mean? If you're a Browns fan and you haven't joined the Kool-Aid Mafia yet, what you waiting for? Show your support from the mob by joining the mob. We got a variety of all flavors and types of Kool-Aid drinkers. You see, we got the orange over there. We got the Cleveland Browns. We got the original Fruit Punch Blue. We also have that purple playoff pack that we got right here. You could get any one of these merchandise. You could get all flavors of the Kool-Aid Mafia. Purchase them today at bushlinebeauty.com/barbershop, www.bushlinebeauty.com/barbershop. And don't forget, coming up During the Browns, we will continue giveaways this offseason, trivia questions, maybe even some appearances, and we'll continue to give gear and merchandise because I know you guys like that, all courtesy of G. Bush in the Barbershop. All right, let's get to this last one here. I want to get to this one because I think, to be honest with you, there were some things that really I saw that moved me a little bit. And bear with me here. When you look at what I learned from these playoff games, and I watched the Baltimore Ravens and the Houston Texans, more than anything, is that we got the wrong mentality. And I like the fact that the Browns did win 11 games or whatever the case may be, but they're going to learn a really tough lesson here. When it comes down to playoffs, you got to hit the ground running, and you better have home field advantage. You better have home field advantage. If you can get it in the first round by winning your division, great. I believe that the Cleveland Browns went home based on one thing. Go back and watch that Texans game. You take the Houston Texans and you put them in Cleveland when it's cold, and you put them in Cleveland with that crowd, the way the crowd was and what the defense plays at home, the Texans is losing that game. We've shown, the Detroit Lions have shown what home field is all about. Baltimore Ravens have shown what home field is all about. San Francisco 49ers has shown what home field is about. The Chiefs, to a certain extent, they only played one game on the playoff, one game on the road or whatever the case may be, but don't get it twisted. They got Patrick Mahomes, who's the current day Michael Jordan of quarterbacks. So they can do some things a little bit differently. But understand something. It's just not good enough to make the playoffs. Because if you get in that wild card game and you got to go on the road in the AFC, you're going to have to go on the road and play at least 3 out of 4. You're going to see Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. That's the big 4. You also have potentially Aaron Rodgers, CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert. That's 8 quarterbacks right there. 8. If you don't win your division, you potentially are going to go on the road and face 3 out of the big 4, which means a combination of Burrow, Allen, Lamar Jackson, or Mahomes. And you're going to have to do it on the road 3 times in a row. You're just not going to do that. I'm sorry. Attrition is going to hit you at some point. You just can't do that. It's an uphill battle. And I know Joe Flacco did it before, but he wasn't facing these type of quarterbacks. And so when I'm watching and looking, the first thing that hit me was, we better be playing hard from the get-go to get at least one first-round playoff game. And that's even difficult because you got Burrow and Lamar Jackson in the division now. And we keep wanting to put dirt on the Steelers, but they won't go away. They refuse to die. They won a playoff game. They didn't win a playoff game, sorry, but they made the playoffs. So that's an uphill battle right now. That's the first thing I learned when this weekend. Second thing, more weaponry. More weaponry. We rest on our laurels too much over here in Cleveland. We always talk about what we don't need. I know a lot of people talk about what they don't need because they scarred and bitter. I don't need a dude. I don't need a woman. I don't need a dude. I ain't looking for nobody, no relationship. It's just me over here. Good luck with that. I'm never, listen, I may be hurt. Somebody may have said something to me and it hurt me. Heck, I might have even had to get a terrible few breakups. But I ain't about to sit here living old by myself in this house, talk about it just me. We better stop being scorned. We better stop all of that with, we don't even need no receivers. We got Cedric Tillman. Remember how they told us before this year, we don't even need DeAndre Hopkins. We got Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's on a milk box carton in his home state. We got Elijah Moore. Why would we need it? We got baby Tyreek Hill. Elijah Moore gonna change the play. You got Amari Cooper, who's a route runner and a damn good one. Not no deep threat. You better get out of your mind right now about all this rhetoric which you don't need, and all this stupid philosophical stuff about I thought Deshaun was supposed to make people better. Y'all sound like idiots. Why would you count on one person when you can load your team and spread out the risk and then be explosive and have more than one person they gotta think for, or have more than one receiver that Deshaun Watson ain't gotta break his neck or wonder if that dude gonna catch the ball? These guys crack me up. You don't think we playing against franchise quarterbacks? So if those franchise quarterbacks, as I said today, and there's no knock on Watson, if Watson is not Mahomes, if he's not Allen, if he's not Burrow, and he's not Lamar Jackson, he may be a little bit underneath them. So skill for skill, they already there. And they got better weapons than you. How do you win? What, you just pray on it? Like you gonna wish on a lucky rabbit's foot? You gonna hope Cedric Tillman turns and David Bell turn out? Y'all kill me, man. We're not doing it this year, though. I would back down some days. No, here's what you better do. If my job is on the line, I don't care about spending no money. You better stop telling me about 5 years down the line. You think I care about 5 years down the line? I'm talking about the fierce urgency of today. I'm worried about what I'm eating today. If my job on the line, I want all the resources, all the budget, and I worry about 5 years when I get there. The Rams didn't worry about 5 years. Fire sell this off. We need more talent. We need more talent, especially if we're going to be in the AFC talking about we need to outdo guys late. We need more talent. That's what I found out this weekend as well. Let's get back to the chats as we wrap this thing up. Get your questions ready. We'll talk to you guys as well. Let's get some of these chats in here. Let me see. Did Stefanski call the plays against Baltimore in the second half? Sure he did. I think he did. I don't know. I think he called the plays all year. So I guess it would say that, well, Deshaun Watson went 14-14, during that time period, right? You know what I'm saying? So that would mean that you say, well, why don't we just stick with the same playbook? Can you agree that you could be successful in a job but not see eye to eye with your boss? I've worked at plenty of places where my peer reviews, my reviews came up where I got a raise, but sometimes as we sitting in there being contentious, there's a philosophical way to look at it about how your job performance is going, right? And sometimes you could be so good at your job, you produce the numbers, but you just don't like the guy. It rubs you the wrong way. It's a difference how you view things. Means nothing. He better prove it. I think that's in regard. They gave him $250 million. Means nothing. He better prove it. Hey, listen. And here's another thing too. Here's how I think about it. I don't have no problem saying that he better play substantially better than he's done, and he need to stay healthy, and he need to do a lot of different things to make sure that this season goes smoothly and it's on his shoulders. I ain't got no problem with that. Much is given, much is required. He got a bag on his head. You know what I'm saying? You got the bag. You know what I'm saying? You the captain. It is what it is. But I don't got no problem calling nobody out when they play wrong. I always give this example. Joe Woods, I talk about African-American quarterbacks. I talk about African Americans getting the opportunity and the lack thereof of opportunities to be head coaches or lack thereof to be coaches, period. Right? So my thing is, there was times where people that are African American used to reach out to me and say, G. Bush, hey man, could you be, I know you killing Hugh Jackson, but Joe Woods, man, I don't want it to be a pattern. Like, I feel like you going overboard. You was crazy with Hugh, but now it's a situation you doing the same thing with Joe Woods. You know what I told them folks? Shut your mouth. What you insinuating? I talk about what I see. I don't care if Joe Woods was my cousin. I tell my cousin, you ain't doing it. This ain't going to get it done. So why am I going to be going? I'm not putting the Superman cape on for nobody. I don't think he's a good coordinator, and I think they could do better. Sorry. I don't care he's the same color as me. It is what it is. I'm going to speak what on that field. So when it comes to anything, I got a problem saying Deshaun Watson got to play better. My thing is, we're not going down the rabbit hole of all of a sudden that he was not good as Baker Mayfield. You better no, stop it, doing too much. Let's see what Jason Miller say. Team is a reflection of the coach. Stefanski is a soft look at the Lions. Look at their coach that comes off tough. The team and in the field play tough. I do believe there's different demeanors you can win with. And I believe there's sometimes it could be for the best. If somebody would sit back and tell Coach Stefanski, they say, listen, do you believe that you can still have an influence on a team without play calling? Sure. Right? Sometimes you need to work on other areas, right? I do a lot of off script stuff. Right? When I do podcasts and I do scripts or I come off the cuff with a lot of stuff. But sometimes off the cuff don't really work just because that's I'm strong in that area. I still got to work on reading. I still got to work on having statistical data analysis. I got to work on different types of formats. I got to always change my game up and be able to add something to it because I don't want to be known as a one-trick pony. I think Kevin Stefanski is a good enough coach where he doesn't have to lean on the fact that he calls the plays. I think he still could be successful if somebody else made the call the plays, just like it was successful with Jim Shorts being a defensive coach. See, keep moving. Gerald Jack, man. Thank you so much for getting 5 Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show memberships. I really appreciate you. And that's another way that people can get hooked on our content and throughout the off season and just keeping in touch with our content. So thank you so much for that. R Mac Dog, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. G Bush, I've been watching the playoffs, and the Browns are the only team that plays under center. Do you think Deshaun Watson can push the Browns to develop a modern offense using motion RPOs with OC calling plays? I think that they're gonna really try to go do that. I think they're gonna really try to go do exactly what you said. I think the push is let's get an offensive coordinator that are gonna give us some free plays. Coming up on Thursday, I'm gonna talk about this a little bit. What I mean by free plays, easy yards. There's a lot of teams like the 49ers, especially the Rams, that have based on their motion built-in things that give you easy, cheap yards. They put stuff in that's easy and cheap for pick plays. They run pick plays on the goal line, motion plays to get guys open in man-to-man coverage when they're running over routes, different things like that. So there's a lot of things that they do that can get you some easy, cheap yards. The Browns don't have those things. To put it in perspective, Gary Kubiak, the playbook they're running, it was all she wrote. When D'Amico Ryans went to Harris and was on tape and said, listen, what I want you to do, they've been running this play in this playbook for 30 years. When Flacco get ready to get back to his third drop to throw this football, look him off. He's going to be looking for the stick route in the slot. Act like you don't see it. When he throw it, take off running. I was telling you, you're going to hit your head on the goalpost. That's what's going to happen. And it happened through a pick six. They need more wrinkles. They need more. They need some unpredictable stuff where people can't sit on some of the stuff that they've been throwing. J-Dog 66. G, you making too much sense and people don't have common sense. So some of these guys can't understand what you're saying. So maybe they're in denial about it. I'm just telling you how it worked and where I came from in business and organizations. Because more than anything, this is a business, multi-billion-dollar Fortune 500 company in business. So there's some business business principles that's going to always translate. Let me see. Let me see. Can you honestly see Baker going heads up with Allen or Mahomes, or is he more likely to throw a pick? I had that too. I actually said, I I kind of pulled it up, and in one of my tweets, I just basically said like, "Hey, Baker, here's what I love about the game of football. Sometimes we do a lot of talking. You got Baker bros and Baker haters out here. Hey, traditionally, you have not been able to get your team over the hump and last second drives. It's all out there for you, bro. You could be the hero, do your thing. What are you gonna do? We gonna see. We watching." And no sooner than he did that, 2 plays later, threw a pick. And it was like a bunch of people might have thought I was just piling on or making a joke because my timeline flooded with people said, "We've seen this before." But you see what I'm saying? No, I honestly believe that your destiny is in your hands when you play football. There is a lot of different things that we prognosticate about, but I respect people that get it done on the field. CJ Stroud came through and beat the brakes off the Browns. I'm not going to say nothing about that. We got a coach. We got to play. I said he was, young dude with a library card. Bro, he came in and did his thing. You're not going to hear me looking dumb and doubling down on something. It's all about what you do between them lines. All about that. Let's get 1 or 2 more, and then we'll get you guys up out of here. We appreciate you. 356 people in here. Please hit the like button for your boy. Rich Hundley says there's 2 other franchises that have not seen or smelled a Super Bowl. One is Detroit, and you know who the other is. We are miles away from the promised land. Here's the thing, Rich. I think we're closer. I don't think we're miles away. But my problem is, are we really giving everything to go after it? You see what I railed on defensive tackles, and people talk about linebackers and D tackles didn't matter. We had one of the worst defenses. All of a sudden, they go get defensive tackles, bring back the guys, and all of a sudden, people starting to talk about this is a top-notch defense of all time. Now, we found out that wasn't the case, but it was greatly improved from what they had under Joe Woods and these guys playing up front. You see what coaching can do. And I know what upgrading your roster can do from a scheme standpoint and making it easier for Watson. Bro, we don't want to sit here and say, okay, we gave you $260 million. Now let's make it as hard as possible so you can prove to me you worth $260. Let's not give you no weapons or receivers or a couple new running backs, or let's not do none of that. Prove to me in my heart of hearts that you're a franchise quarterback and you can drag mediocre players across the finish line. At the end of the day, that does no good for you. You're not going to win those games. You're not going to win any of that. You're not going to win a Super Bowl because other teams are going for it. The guys you don't get, the Ravens want. The guys you don't want to think about going after, the Bengals is getting. So for me, the Lions, look at their roster. Gibbs is crazy. Offensive line, they look good. Jared Goff is a guy that been to the Super Bowl that looked like the Sun guy, St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. This dude is a monster. Laporta, one of the better tight ends. They had one of the best tight end seasons ever. Hutchinson is a beast. They got players, and they're going to keep trying to get them. Let's get one more. One more. Let's see. Buddy Slick says, Deshaun definitely got to change up. He ain't the same dude from 5 years ago in Houston. Here's the thing. That may be the case. That even points to what I'm saying about even more. If he ain't the same dude he was in Houston, you better make sure that you get some people around him that can prop him up to a point where, guess what? He is looking like the Houston guy. See, there's one or two things you can do. You can roll the ball out and say, run Stefanski's offense and come with the medium receivers and skill guys and say elevators. When you found out that it wasn't elevating, when it wasn't regulating, guess what? You got to do something to make sure or see if you can get it there. The first step was, all right, well, let's see if we get a new coordinator, a new playbook to see if Deshaun Watson is back in Houston. If that don't work, you now got to go back to the table and say, well, let me get a new coordinator and some weapons. And I got to overdo it, not get regular, overdo it. That being said, we'll talk about what overdoing mean coming up in the next episode. You got to stay tuned. That being said, it's your boy G Bush 333. Make sure you stay around. Check out Behind the Glass. Make sure you check out Adam the Bull, the bullpen as well. And make sure you continue to keep it locked to UCSS YouTube channel. With that being said, I'm everywhere, man. You know, I might be a 92.3 The Fan. I might be on the radio. I might be doing this. I might even be shopping or doing a reality show. But you never know where I'm going to be at. But you know what you can do to find out? Listen to these Clippers because they undefeated. The Clippers is undefeated. Peace.